Documents seized from former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home reportedly containing information describing a foreign government's nuclear capabilities. Citing anonymous sources, the Washington Post revealing some of the documents were so secret only cabinet-level officials or higher could give authorization for others to see them. Joining me now, former Georgia Congressman, former Judiciary Committee ranking member, Doug Collins. Doug, great to see you this morning. Your thoughts on this report, but probably more to be expected of the kind of drips and drabs that would be coming, leaks, if you will. We've seen this before coming out of Justice and maybe the FBI.
This is just, it gets to a point where it just, it was becoming expected. I hate to say that, it was becoming expected. If this was such classified information, like you just said, explain to me why it's being leaked on an anonymous source to the media. I mean, this is the part that is just, again, it goes to just reinforce what everybody is beginning to believe about this raid, that it was not as much about what they knew. They knew this, that they had interest in documents for several months and then decided to do a raid, take, everything in the sun that they could find. And now it's just slowly coming out. This is exactly what President Trump had talked about. It's what the judges talked about. And I think that's why, a lot of people are just losing complete faith that this isn't really an investigation that is designed at something that they could have avoided or fixed. It's designed to make a slow drip and drab to just damage President Trump.
James Freeman, jump in here.
Yeah, and we have to note the history here. When you're talking about anonymous sources in the Washington Post related to an FBI investigation of Donald Trump, the history here tells us we need to be extremely skeptical. I would say also the timeline here, given that Merrick Garland mulled over for weeks whether to approve this long period of the summer when it was not authorized, suggests that it wasn't the necessarily the hair on fire information that earlier Washington Post suggested. But anyway, I'm wondering what is the resolution here, Congressman? Let's say as a hypothetical that it comes to light that maybe this was an overreaction, that maybe the FBI shouldn't have done this, that it was not really justified by the evidence. If the special master finds there was a lot of privileged material that should not have been seized, what is the sanction?
That's been something I've been asking a question for almost 5 years. Let's go all the way back to the Russia investigation. Let's go back to the James Comey deciding to play prosecutor, judge, and everything else in the Hillary Clinton case. Let's go back to the issues around even going into the White House when you had Comey and the rest of them still targeting Flynn and other issues all the way up to the Mueller investigation. My problem that I've had with several years is with the FBI, especially the senior leadership and the seemingly ideologue-driven running of some on that top level, is that there is no accountability. We've had some just leave. They've landed on their feet at other, at TV, writing books. Nothing is held accountable here. And for those of us who look at this and say, why is there different standards of justice? It is seeping out of the American public. That's my concern, is that it'll just be, oh, shuck their shoulders, go on, say, we tried, didn't happen. And then the media will just fall in line and never report on it again. This is the problem I have right now with Christopher Wray, Merrick Garland. There's just still seemingly a politicization at FBI that needs to be dealt with. And until you see people held accountable, truly accountable for lying to the FISA court, things like that, then you're not ever going to see anything change at FBI.
Right. Now, it's only through whistleblower or whistleblowers that we found out about the suppression or attempted suppression of the Hunter Biden investigation and looking into the laptop. And finally, people within these organizations are speaking up to the likes of Senator Grassley. But let's talk about double standard. Twice failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton speaking out on the Trump raid while making a false claim about her own situation. She tweeted this in part, quote, "As Trump's problems continue to mount, the right is trying to make this about me again. There's even a Clinton standard. The fact is that I had 0 emails that were classified." Well, a 2018 Justice Department report found 193 classified emails were either sent to or from Clinton's server. In 2016, former FBI Director James Comey said publicly Clinton had mishandled classified information. And Doug, in fact, she was interviewed by federal investigators, after Comey made that announcement in the summer of 2016, she was accompanied by potential co-conspirators who were acting as her lawyers, and her answers were so, well, a normal person would have been probably charged with lying to investigators the way that Martha Stewart was, that sent her to prison for 5 months.
Yeah. And speaking of FBI agents who lied to their own department and still really didn't have anything done to them. Look, if there's an ice cream shortage, the Clintons in some way will say that it's about them. I mean, it's just ridiculous at a certain point in time. And you get this idea that she didn't, the emails. Let's forget about the emails. She had a server in a closet at her house. I mean, give me a break. This is not even, you don't even attempt, whatever you have on it is not, you just bypass the entire operations for Secretary of State. I mean, look, if we want to be lectured to by somebody on ethics and morals in government, it certainly will not be Hillary Clinton or her husband. This is just not, where to go. And again, it's just a vain attempt at staying relevant. Yes, she should have been held accountable. If it wasn't for her buddy, Jim Comey, who actually did scold her, but then said, no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute this case, which is a bunch of bull because the attorney general was compromised at the time because of her meeting with Clinton. I mean, that'd have been a whole different story there. It's just ridiculous that you would have Hillary Clinton weighing in on this. Maybe it's just time to go do a podcast, relax, and get off the stage.
She did say that she's not. You won't see her on the ballot in 2024. But do you remember? I think, if my memory serves, she was asked about the C on documents as a classified designation. She was like, I don't know what that means. If my recall this early in the morning is good.
Yeah.
But Doug, given all of this, what we were just discussing, the midterm elections coming up, couple months, less than, we're almost 2 months to the nose. Is this a distraction for Republicans? Does it take a lot of talk about Mar-a-Lago, a lot of talk about President Trump, who is not on the ballot? We're even talking about Hillary Clinton. Is that to the Republicans' detriment?
Dagan, I think you've now hit it. I think this is the part that is for many of us who believe that this has, is so little to do with actual information that may or may not should have been stored, taken, stored, whatever, they want to call it. Here we are again in the red speech, the red disaster speech from last week, again, from Biden, just sort of emphasized this. They have nothing to run on. The American people have decided, and rightfully so, that their administration's policies are a disaster. So what was the best thing? Let's just bring back what they felt has worked in the past. Let's just bring back up Donald Trump. Let's bring back up other issues. Let's slowly drip and drab it out to the people that they will then take away from people not asking us about how disastrous people walking. I mean, when I have a press secretary who doesn't even know that they're walking across the southern border, I mean, this is just, frankly, I'm cynical enough now to where it's just hard for me to believe that this is not in some way coordinated to just continue to distract from what the election is about in November. And I think they're also very scared that November comes, the Republicans take over the House, take over the Senate, then a lot of these questions are going to be back aired out, but they're going to be coming from a different perspective, not a friendly Congress, but they're going to be coming from some people who are asking, why did this happen, and why do conservatives seem to be treated with a different standard out of this Department of Justice?
Karine Jean-Pierre, I believe, called the Nord Stream 1 pipeline the Nordstrom pipeline. I didn't make that up. Doug Collins, thank you so much.
She doesn't make it up either.
We're